President Trump this morning attacking the media as this manhunt intensifies for a serial bomber. The president tweeting in part, a very big part of the anger we see today in our society is caused by the purposely false and inaccurate reporting of the mainstream media that I refer to as fake news. That is from our president. With me now, former CNN Washington Bureau Chief Frank Sesno, now director of George Washington University School of Media and Public Affairs. And Frank, when you saw that tweet, what did you think?
I thought it's really a shame. It's really a shame that the president, in the middle of what is what is a national crisis, an investigation, and still something that is a developing story. We don't know if there are other bombs out there. We don't know if, God forbid, any of them are going to go off. This is a time when we really need to sort of hold our breath and also catch our own anger. And instead, he's fanning it. He's blaming others. Look, I've been in this town for a long time, and I think we've watched this kind of thing very closely. There are times when presidents must be uniters and not dividers, when they need to rally public support and not further aggravate the debates and the divisions that always exist. And now is one of them. And so I'm sorry to see him point fingers like this. I'm also sorry to see him get it wrong. The mainstream media does not deliberately make it up. The disinformation campaigns, they deliberately make it up. And he's commingling all these things, and it's wrong, it's dangerous, and it's a shame.
All of these people who have been on the receiving end, been the targets of these bombs, they are the constant focus of Fox's primetime coverage. And when you look at Fox right now, one of their hosts, Lou Dobbs, has been tweeting. And initially he tweeted about these fake bombs, which was a tweet he deleted. He then tweeted about fake news, changing the narrative from illegal immigration, in that caravan, to quote unquote suspicious packages, which he later deleted. By the way, the investigators say the bombs were rudimentary, but very much functional. And now Frank, to his latest tweet, not yet deleted, writing that whether hoax or bombs, they were clearly designed to influence the election. And Frank, I checked, Lou Dobbs has 1.84 million Twitter followers, and he has no evidence of any of this.
Right. Look, this is the issue, right? And everybody's the media, right? How does Lou know they were clearly designed to influence the election? Maybe.
He doesn't.
We have no idea yet. How does anybody know where they came from? We don't know whether they come from the right or the left or from a crazy person in between. That will be revealed by the investigation. We don't know whether they were prompted by Donald Trump. So I think that conversation needs to be tempered as well. But what we do know is that wherever they're coming from, this is dangerous business. And we also know that we are at a time when very divisive, demonizing rhetoric can make this worse. And that's where the role of, as I say, the president needs to be as a uniter and not a divider.
The president, you and I have been covering him since the get-go, and he seems to think any news coverage of him that is not favorable is quote-unquote fake news. And you give the man credit at being pretty brilliant at branding and his own PR. And when we watched him the other weekend with Leslie Stahl in 60 Minutes, remember he admitted to making fun, mocking Christine Blasey Ford, because for him it was a way where it worked. Because he won, because Kavanaugh ultimately was, got the votes he needed to be on the U.S. Supreme Court. And when you look at his tweet this morning, Frank, his messaging, isn't this just more of the same?
Look, the President of the United States bears a disproportionate responsibility in that messaging that you're talking about. If you think of, George W. Bush after 9/11 and the messaging, very deliberate messaging that he sent out. If you think of Ronald Reagan after the Challenger exploded, these were times when the commander-in-chief stood up and said, we are one people, we are one nation, we grieve together, we search together, we fight together. And I think that's something that has been really missing. Right now, where we are right now, and yes, we're 2 weeks before the election, so there's a very dicey time.
Sure.
But the president is being called on his rhetoric, and he will be held accountable. I think that's what this is going to be. This conversation is going to be on an ongoing basis, accountable for the words and actions that he's taken. And yes, you get pummeled when you're president of the United States. Every president has, by everybody from late night comedians to columnists you don't like. You know, Thomas Jefferson didn't have late night comedians, but he had columnists he didn't like. It goes way back. But it's in the job description of the president to find a way to navigate that, to rise above that, to outsmart that, certainly to criticize that, but to be very careful that you don't inflame the passions of the people in dangerous ways that can then not be controlled. And we've not experienced something like this. This is a presidency that is unprecedented, and therefore for people on all sides of all issues now, something to really think about in terms of where we're going and what is the potential cost of this and how do we pull it back. Well, to say the media should pull it back, the media is the most plural word out there, but there's only one president, and there's only one president who sets a tone for the country, and I've watched that as a White House reporter and in other ways. And it's incredible how influential that one person can be on any side of a particular issue. So, you know, Teddy Roosevelt in the bully pulpit, Mr. Trump has that.
Yep. Frank says no. A pleasure. Thank you very much for your perspective.
Pleasure's mine.